10 Rarest Muscle Cars Worth More Than Mansions. Somewhere in America, sitting in a forgotten garage or rotting behind a barn, there's a car worth more than most people's houses. Maybe it's covered in dust. Maybe the owner died and the family has no idea what they're sitting on. But these automotive unicorns are out there, waiting to be discovered. Today, we're counting down 10 muscle cars so rare, so valuable, that finding one is like discovering buried treasure. Some were built in numbers you can count on your fingers. Others were prototypes that were never supposed to survive. But here's the crazy part. Number 3 on our list was actually found in a barn in 2019, covered in chicken droppings and sitting on flat tires. The owner had no idea they were using a $2.8 million car as storage for lawn equipment. So grab your metal detector and your dreams of automotive fortune, because we're about to explore the rarest muscle cars that prove sometimes impossible dreams really do have wheels. Number 10. 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda Convertible. Plymouth built exactly 14 Hemi Cuda convertibles in 1970. Not 140, not 1,400, just 14. And every single one is now worth between $3.5 and $4.5 million. Think about that for a second. In 1970, you could walk into a Plymouth dealership and special order one for about $4,200. The salesman probably tried to talk you out of it because convertibles were considered impractical, and the Hemi option added serious money to an already expensive car. Today, if you find one of these 14 survivors, you've basically discovered a small mansion that can do burnouts and outrun most modern supercars. The 426 Hemi engine was already the stuff of legends, producing 425 horsepower on paper, but closer to 500 in reality. But putting it in a convertible Cuda created something that was part muscle car, part luxury cruiser, and completely insane. These cars combined the most powerful engine Chrysler made with the freedom of open-air driving and the kind of rarity that makes grown collectors weep. Here's what makes finding one even more unlikely. Convertibles were considered disposable back then. They rusted faster, leaked water, and most got driven hard and put away wet. The fact that any of these 14 cars survived 5 decades is nothing short of miraculous. The last documented sale was at Mecum Auctions in 2021 for $4.8 million. That's more than most people pay for their primary residence, and you still need to find a place to store your mansion-priced muscle car. Number 9. 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. Chevrolet only built 69 ZL1 Camaros in 1969, and each one was basically a street-legal race car wearing license plates. The ZL1 was Chevy's answer to anyone who said they couldn't build something as insane as Chrysler's Hemi engines. The ZL1 package cost $4,160 in 1969, which was more than most people paid for an entire car. To put that in perspective, a base Camaro cost $2,726, meaning the ZL1 option alone cost more than a brand new Volkswagen Beetle. That money bought you an all-aluminum 427 big block that was basically Chevy's LS7 racing engine with a warranty and street-legal status. The aluminum construction made the ZL1 engine 100 pounds lighter than a regular iron 427, shifting the car's weight distribution and making it an absolute rocket ship. This wasn't just about raw power. It was about engineering excellence that bordered on obsession. But here's the crazy part. Most dealers couldn't sell them. The price was so high that regular customers walked away in shock, and the performance was so intense that insurance companies treated them like nuclear weapons. Many ZL1s sat on dealer lots for years, with some eventually being converted to regular SS models just to move inventory. Today, finding a real ZL1 is like winning the automotive lottery. The last documented sale was $1.3 million at Barrett-Jackson, and that was considered a bargain because the car had been professionally restored to concours condition. Every serious Chevrolet collector has a ZL1 at the top of their dream list, knowing they'll probably never actually see one, let alone own one. Number 8. 1970 Dodge Challenger RT Hemi Convertible. Dodge built exactly 9 Hemi Challenger convertibles in 1970. 9! you have a better chance of meeting your favorite rock star than finding one of these automotive unicorns. The Challenger was already Dodge's most beautiful muscle car, with proportions that looked sculpted by angels. Adding the 426 Hemi turned it into mechanical artwork that could outrun physics, making it a convertible created automotive perfection with a removable roof. The last known sale reached $2.1 million at a private auction in 2020. The buyer reportedly didn't even negotiate. When you find something this rare, you don't haggle over price. Production records suggest that at least 2 of the original 9 cars were lost to accidents, meaning there might only be 7 left in existence. Number 7. 1970 Plymouth Cuda AR. The AAR, All-American Racers. Cuda was Plymouth's homologation special for Trans Am racing, and they built exactly 2,724. But here's what makes them incredibly rare. Almost all were driven hard, raced, crashed, or modified beyond recognition. Finding an original, unmolested AAR Cuda is like finding a needle in a haystack that's been on fire for 50 years. These cars were built for dominating Trans Am racing, and most owners treated them exactly like the race cars they were. The AAR featured a 340 small block with triple carburetors, side exhaust pipes that sounded like controlled explosions, and a rear spoiler borrowed from a fighter jet. This was automotive rebellion with racing credentials. A documented original AAR Cuda in concours condition sold for $650,000 in 2022, and experts predict that number will only climb. Number 6. 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona Hemi. Dodge built 503 Charger Daytonas in 1969, but only 70 came with the 426 Hemi engine. This wasn't just rare, it was a street-legal spacecraft that looked designed by aliens. The massive rear wing and extended nose cone were functional aerodynamic components designed to make the car unstoppable at 200 miles per hour. NASCAR homologation rules meant Dodge had to build street versions, creating one of the most visually insane muscle cars ever produced. The wing was so tall you could walk under it, and the nose cone stretched so far forward that parking became a strategic challenge. But when you fired up that 426 Hemi, nothing seemed excessive anymore. A Hemi Daytona sold for $1.43 million at Mecum auctions in 2020, and that was considered reasonable given its rarity and racing heritage. Number 5. 1970 Chevrolet SS LS 6 454 Convertible. Chevrolet built 4,475 LS 6 Chevelle in 1970, but only 18 were convertibles. 18. That's not a production run. That's a rounding error that became automotive legend. The LS6454 was the most powerful engine Chevrolet ever put in a production car, officially rated at 450 horsepower but actually making closer to 500. Putting it in a convertible, Chevelle created something that was part luxury cruiser, part mechanical weapon. These 18 cars represent the absolute peak of American muscle car excess. You could cruise with the top down feeling like automotive royalty, then drop the hammer and experience acceleration that modern supercars struggle to match. The last known sale reached $1.7 million at Barrett-Jackson in 2019. The bidding war lasted nearly 10 minutes, with collectors from around the world competing. But wait until you see what's coming next. The cars we're about to reveal make these look common. Number 4. 1968 Shelby GT 500 KR Convertible. Carroll Shelby built 518 GT 500 KR King of the Road models in 1968, but only 40 were convertibles. These weren't just rare Shelbys. They were the most powerful street-legal Mustangs ever built, wrapped in open-air luxury. The KR designation meant these cars got the 428 Cobra jet engine, Ford's most powerful street motor. But Shelby added his own performance modifications, functional aerodynamics, and enough attitude to intimidate Ferraris. What made Shelby convertibles special was their exclusivity. Carroll Shelby was building cars for people who wanted something no one else had, and a KR convertible delivered exactly that. The last documented sale reached $2.2 million at RM Sotheby's in 2021. The car had been owned by the same family since new, with less than 15,000 original miles. Number 3. 1969 Chevrolet Camaro COPO ZL1 Convertible. This is where we enter the realm of automotive mythology. Chevrolet built exactly 4 COPO ZL1 convertibles in 1969. 4, not 40, not 400. Just 4. These cars are so rare that most Chevrolet historians aren't completely sure they all actually exist, and finding documentation on any of them requires detective work that would impress the FBI. The COPO program was Chevrolet's way of building cars that technically weren't supposed to exist. GM had a corporate ban on putting engines larger than 400 cubic inches in mid-size cars, but the COPO system allowed dealers to special order combinations that bypassed those restrictions. The ZL1 aluminum 427 was a racing engine that cost more than most complete cars, and putting it in a convertible Camaro created something that was essentially a street-legal race car with a folding roof. Here's the incredible part that proves these automotive unicorns are still out there. One of these 4 cars was actually found in a barn in Georgia in 2019. The owner had inherited it from his uncle, who'd stored it in the 1980s and simply forgotten about it. For nearly 40 years, this $2.8 million car sat next to lawnmowers and Christmas decorations, while the family had no idea they were essentially using Fort Knox as a storage shed. When the car was discovered, it still had its original drivetrain, original paint, and even the original dealer paperwork stuffed in the glove box. The barn find sold at auction for $2.8 million, making it possibly the most expensive barn find in automotive history, and proving that sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places. The COPO ZL1 convertibles represent the absolute pinnacle of American muscle car rarity. They combine the most powerful engine Chevrolet made, the most desirable body style, and production numbers that make them essentially priceless. Owning one isn't just about having a rare car. It's about owning something that automotive historians consider a legitimate piece of American industrial art. Number 2. 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda with shaker hood. Plymouth built fewer than 700 Hemi Cudas in 1970, but only 108 came with the legendary shaker hood option. This combination created what many consider the most visually dramatic muscle car ever produced. The shaker hood wasn't just cosmetic, it was functional insanity mounted directly to the 426 Hemi engine. When you revved the motor, the entire hood scoop would shake and vibrate, creating a visual reminder that you were controlling barely contained mechanical violence. Finding a real Hemi Cuda with shaker hood is like discovering automotive treasure. These cars represented the absolute peak of Chrysler's muscle car development. The last documented sale reached $3.5 million at Mecum auctions in 2022. The bidding war involved collectors from 3 continents, proving that some automotive legends transcend national boundaries. Number 1. 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 COPO 9560. The Holy Grail, the automotive unicorn. Chevrolet built exactly 69 ZL1 Camaros in 1969, but only a handful survive in original documented condition. The ZL1 wasn't just rare, it was revolutionary. The all-aluminum 427 engine was the same power plant that dominated NASCAR and Can-Am racing. Putting it in a street Camaro was like selling fighter jet engines to anyone with enough money and courage. The ZL1 represented everything that made American muscle cars special: massive power, cutting-edge technology, and the willingness to build something completely insane just because they could. Finding a documented ZL1 today is like discovering buried treasure. The last confirmed sale reached $4.1 million at Barrett-Jackson in 2023, setting a new record for any muscle car sold at public auction. What makes the ZL1 truly legendary isn't just its performance or rarity, it's what it represents. This was American automotive engineering at its absolute peak, when manufacturers were willing to lose money on every car just to prove they could build something no one else dared attempt. 10 automotive lottery tickets that prove sometimes the impossible really does exist in forgotten garages and dusty barns across America. These aren't just rare muscle cars. They're rolling treasure that can turn a curious weekend drive into a life-changing discovery. The crazy truth is that somewhere out there, probably sitting under a tarp in a storage unit or buried behind boxes in an estate garage, there's another one waiting to be found. Every barn find story starts with someone who didn't know what they had and ends with collectors offering amounts of money that seem like typographical errors. Think about the Georgia barn find ZL1 Convertible. For 40 years, a $2.8 million car sat forgotten while the family went about their daily lives, completely unaware they owned automotive treasure. How many more stories like that are waiting to unfold? How many phone calls to estate sale companies or conversations with elderly neighbors could lead to discoveries that change lives forever? These cars represent more than just rarity and value. They're proof that sometimes the wildest automotive dreams actually came true. In an era when manufacturers were willing to build anything customers would buy, these unicorns emerged as the ultimate expression of American muscle car madness. They're rolling reminders that sometimes the best ideas were the crazy ones, and sometimes the most impossible projects became the most valuable treasures. The next time you drive past a mysterious garage that never opens, or see a car-shaped tarp in someone's backyard, remember these stories. The next time you hear about an estate sale or meet someone who mentions their late grandfather's old car collection, pay attention. Lightning strikes in the most unlikely places, and automotive treasure hunters who know what to look for sometimes walk away with literal fortune. Which of these automotive treasures would you choose if money was no object? Or better yet, which one do you dream about finding in that mysterious garage down the street that makes you curious every time you drive past? Are you the type who would have the courage to knock on that door and ask the magic question, "Is that old car for sale?" Share your barn find fantasies in the comments. Tell us about the mysterious covered cars in your neighborhood, and let us know if you've ever had the guts to ask about that shape under the tarp. You never know who might have the tip that leads to your own million-dollar discovery, or who might be inspired by your story to finally explore that dusty garage they've been wondering about for years. If this made you want to start checking every classified ad, haunting every estate sale, and questioning every elderly neighbor about what's hidden in their garage, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Next week, we're diving into another list that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about muscle car values and maybe give you some more clues about what to look for on your own treasure hunting adventures. Thanks for dreaming along with us, and remember, the next barn find legend could be you, if you know what to look for and have the courage to knock on the right door. Sometimes the difference between driving past automotive treasure and discovering it is just one conversation with the right person at the right time.